Archie's Mansion for another of our programs co-sponsored by our friends at the Rogers Memorial Library. Our speaker today is Jim Sacmarek. He's known as Sac. And he's going to give us a glimpse of what life was like for a Marine during a tour of duty in Vietnam War towards the end of the 1960s. A native of Queens, Zach was a college student in 1967 when he signed up for a 3-year enlistment in the Marines. He arrived in the jungles of Southeast Asia as the war, which was aimed at halting the spread of communism, was being vigorously fought, but whenever he had access to a camera, he took the opportunity to document his day-to-day life, resulting in the depiction of a year in the life of a Marine in Vietnam, which he's going to share with us today. Mr. Sacmarek retired in 1996 after 20 years as an air traffic controller. He has since received a degree in European history from Stony Brook University and an additional degree in academic studies emphasizing colonial Long Island history. He's been a regular volunteer at the William Floyd Estate and at the Suffolk County Historical Society Library. And he's on the board of the Association of Suffolk County Historical Societies. So please welcome Zach Sacmarek.
Thank you very much.
Mary.
It's great to be here, it really is. This is about the 6th time I've given this presentation over the past half a dozen years, I guess. So I guess I average about once a year. Generally, I'm sure there's at least 1 or 2 veterans in the audience. That's typically who shows up, or at least somebody that knows a veteran. So I'd just like to say the title here is both hands full. It's just the title, the portion here, photos from the front. If anybody, I don't know if anybody else in here has been to Vietnam, but there isn't any front. It wasn't World War I, it wasn't World War II, and Korea the front was constantly being pushed back by the Chinese. So there was no front in Vietnam. There was a bunch of battles, most of them small. There was the large battle of Tet. I arrived in country right after Tet, which would have been February of 1968. I got there in May of 1968. And all I can say is I walked off an air-conditioned plane, an air-conditioned aircraft, commercial, into heat I've never felt before in my life. And I said to the fellow next to me, his name is Oliver. And I said to him, Oliver, I'm not going to get shot here. I'm not going to get killed here by anybody shooting at me. I'm going to die here from this heat. I honestly thought that heat was going to take me out. It was that bad. I just never felt anything like it. I'm sure that a lot of the veterans today, veterans who've been to Iraq and Afghanistan, say the same thing. Maybe in triplicate. I don't know what the weather patterns are there, but I'm sure they're not conducive to normal life. So on that note, I will get started. Oops. Okay, everybody. It worked before.
A check
For some reason, I
for,
seem to be out of range.
yeah, we're getting somebody.
It was working before when I was standing on the other side of the room.
There we go. I guess you need to stand.
Maybe you gotta stand on that side. Okay, so I was with the 1st Battalion, 11th Marines, headquarters battery. Originally I was with Foxtrot Battery. I got wounded by friendly fire, so I don't have a Purple Heart to show for it. Somebody was cleaning their 45 and of course it was unloaded. After they struck my left shoulder, it was definitely unloaded. I just forgot the one, usually forget the one in the chamber. You take out the clip, there's still one one round in the chamber. And it found me. Lucky it was just my shoulder. So, all right, so it's Quang Nam province, pretty much towards the north. I was in, they split Vietnam up into different corps. It was 4 corps, 3 corps, 2 corps, and of course not 1 corps, but I Corps. So we were in I Corps, which was the northern part of Vietnam, and May 68 to June 69. They sent us there for 13 months. The Army, I'm not complaining, the Army went there for 12 months. The Marine Corps went there for 13 months. There's a good Marine Corps reason for that. When they first started sending troops to Vietnam, the Marines, we have a private fleet. It's called the Navy, and the Navy takes us from the West Coast and takes us over to Southeast Asia. It's a 2-week trip. Do you 1 year in country, and you got another 2-week trip coming back. That's a 13-month tour of duty. Now they fly you over there in a day or so with an aircraft. We're not going to disregard that 13th month. No way. So you spend your 13th month hoping to get out of there alive. So anyway, you really don't think about it all the time. This is a map of Vietnam. It's not the best one in the world, but it's the one that I can identify with. Has a lot of features that I'm familiar with. Right here, it's called the DMZ. All right, that's a demilitarized zone from South Vietnam and North Vietnam, 2 separate countries, just like we used to have an East Germany and a West Germany. So today they're united, but at the time it was two separate countries. The DMZ we refer to as the Dead Marine Zone because that's just what we called it. It seemed most fitting. Khe Sanh is a big battle in Khe Sanh, probably as far as I know, the biggest battle of the Vietnam War, which lasted 1960 to 1975 ballpark. So it was a 15-year war. I always thought it was, I used to say World War II vets fought in the big one, I fought in the long one. But I can't say that anymore because the Afghanistan wars have gone on much longer than that now. I think we're approaching like 19 years. So we had Khe Sanh, Hue, Phu Bai. I was up in Phu Bai, spent a lot of time in Phu Bai. There's some slides here of Phu Bai. Another place that's not here was called An Hoa. Then Mekong Delta, you heard a lot about that. Ho Chi Minh City, which at the time was Saigon. Today it's been renamed. Da Nang, I guess Da Nang didn't get renamed, not yet anyway. Dien Phu, if anybody's familiar with, we kind of replaced the French who were in Vietnam, and it's where they got their butts kicked and were asked to leave at Dien Phu. And of course, Hanoi, the capital. Haiphong Harbor, that's where the bombing runs were constantly done. Mostly out of Da Nang. Well, the Marine Corps anyway. We had a big Air Force base. A Marine Air Base in Da Nang. That was also the rear. I was in the 1st Marine Division. That was the headquarters of the 1st Marine Division. I came home from Vietnam with we were just, for some reason, in I-Corps, which I said I was in the area called I-Corps. It's not delineated on this map, the military, different military corps. But I came back from there. There'll be a couple of Army fellows in these slides. Other than those 2 or 3 guys, I went 13 months without seeing anybody in the Army. So when I came back, I really didn't know that the Army was there fighting every bit as much as the Marines, if not more. You know, that the Army had it every bit as tough as the Marine Corps. But I wasn't aware of it. And I only became aware of it. I went into some group, I'll just say it, I was in group therapy when I came back for many years. First group I got into, it was an offshoot of the VA, they were called Veteran Centers. There was one in Babylon. So I'm in there with a group of about 12 guys. They were all Army, and I'm a Marine, former Marine. And then we're all talking, and then the therapist, at the end of it was my first engagement there. And the person, the therapist, came up to me afterwards. He said, "Hey, Zach, what'd you think?" And he said, "You think you're in the right place?" So it's about 1984. I've been home from Vietnam for 14 years at that point. I was married, had children, and traffic control a whole bit. But my head was still someplace else. So he says, "You think you're in the right place?" I said, "No, I think I'm in the wrong group." He said, "Why? What's the matter?" I said, "All these guys were in the Army." I said, "I was in the Marine Corps." He said, "Yeah, so?" He was in the Army himself. He was there. I said, "Well, I didn't see any guys there from the Army. It was a couple, but Jack, you've got to read some history because you're just not aware. You spent 13 months in Vietnam and you didn't know the Army was there." And I could say that's the honest to God's truth. And Cameron Bay, in-country R&R was a big thing. So Cameron Bay is where a lot of what's called in-country R&R, you get a couple of days off. I never had that luxury. We didn't do that too much. I did do one R&R, which is rest recuperation or rest and relaxation, whatever you want to call it. I went to Hong Kong. I spent a week in Hong Kong. You had the choices of going to Australia, Hawaii, Hong Kong, Bangkok. There's a half a dozen different places you could go and spend a week. Hawaii was typically for the married fellows who wanted to go back, meet their wives in Hawaii. This is, the next probably half a dozen, maybe 8, 9, 10 slides is from a mountaintop. I went out, I wasn't part of recon, of Force Recon, which is the Marine Corps equivalent of special forces like Green Beret or Navy SEALs. So we were called Force Recon, but I wasn't trained for Force Recon. I just happened to be with them. I was originally a radio operator, so I was in artillery the whole time. When it said headquarters battery, 11th Marines, 11th Marines means artillery. 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th Marines, they were all artillery regiments, which supports the infantry. So this recon group lost their radio operator, and they needed one. So they came back to the rear where I was and said, "Hey, we need a radio operator to go recon." "Ooh, I'll go." You know, never volunteer. But anyway, I did volunteer. But then again, I volunteered for the Marine Corps, so that's how much I know. Okay, so we're up on top of a mountain. Recon is on top of one of the tallest mountains there. I don't know the name of it. All the names were numbers. When I say hill 685, it means it was 685 meters tall. So most hills had numbers. I don't remember the number of this particular hill. I spent about just less than a month on top of this hill. And what we were doing, because of the vantage point, we could control this river. sampans, bad guys go up and down the river in sampans, posing as rice runners. And all out in this area, back here, this open field. So we, from this one point, this dozen or so guys, it's a very small, small outfit. It's not even a platoon, it's a squad, thank you. Thank you. Couldn't think of that. So, this is, looks like a big explosion. Well, it is. But it's C4, it's a controlled explosion. There's some fellas right here. I guess they didn't get enough noise, so they wanted to be up close and personal. So we're on top of this hill. The only thing bad about this hill is that that hill was taller. I never knew why we weren't on that hill. Because if somebody's up there, they could be shooting down us. That is not good. Poor planning. But anyway, we're having a resupply helicopter come in. So somebody's going to get to see some helicopters here. We're going to be resupplied by a Chinook. So we're going to get ammunition, we're going to get food, we're going to get water, and that's it. That's about it. So we don't want the helicopter. The night before, some bad guys who were on the, could have been on the other hill or wherever, who could have been up here, might have come down in the middle of the night and planted some stuff, what we would call IEDs today, improvised, whatever, explosive devices. So anyway, we don't want the helicopter to land on an explosive device, or a booby trap, is what we call them. So we have a controlled explosion. Right where the helicopter's going to land, we blow it up in case there's anything buried under there. We don't want the helicopter to come down on it and disappear. So, here's the helicopter coming in. Now we got to pop smoke. So anybody that's familiar with helicopters, we can't just say, he knows we're there, but he doesn't know who we are. He doesn't definitively know who we are. So, you're asked to pop smoke. We have different, that particular one is yellow. We have yellow, red, green, I think blue, I'm not sure, and we have white. So, we say we're going to pop he tells us, pop a yellow smoke. We pop a yellow smoke. And that's a little more confirmation as he's going to be landing in a friendly area. We've taken care of any booby traps. Now we're trying to identify each other, and now we can land. He also, this fellow, doesn't have a wingman, so he's on his own. So here he comes. He's coming in for a landing. Everything's clear. We're going to get some food and water. So there's the squad is going down there to unload the helicopter. He only wants to spend a minute on the ground. This is not a big. He's not excited. He's worried. This pilot is sweating. So we're probably not as fearful as he is right now. So he wants to make this short, quick, unload me and let me get the hell out of here. So they're unloaded. These were cans of probably water. I don't think we need gas for anything. So imagine they were water cans. This is what keeps the bad guys out. String of barbed wire. Doesn't stop any bullets, but slow down the bad guys. So I'm out there as a radio operator. I'm part of a team. I'm the forward observer team. I'm there to call in artillery. These other guys are there to shoot people. I'm there to call in artillery. I'm there with a lieutenant who's just back from Fort Sill. He's probably younger than me, or at least my age. I'm 21 at this point. I think I might have just turned 21. This is my lieutenant. He's they call butter bars. They're second lieutenants. They have the gold bars. It's the equivalent of being on private. It is. And they may know less than some privates. But anyway, they learn quickly, they do learn quickly. So, this is my second lieutenant, I report to him, but I'm the one who knows how to call an artillery. He knows how to do it in school, he doesn't know how to do it in real life. So I'm gonna show him how to call an artillery. This is the sergeant who's in charge of the Force Recon Squad. So, as you can see, we're dressed for combat. There's a helicopter taking off, little M16 on duty there. The M16s, by the way, when I got there, they didn't work. I was a radio operator, so I had a radio on my back. I had this map in my hand, and with the map in my hand, it's kind of like right now. I couldn't shoot my M16 because my hands are full, but I had a 45. So that was my, it's called a TO weapon. That was my weapon. I had an M16, I never really used it. I used the 45. So, it's also important to note that when we're on this hill, we call in our coordinates and we're marked. I call in artillery, I call in artillery from, I don't know where the artillery battalion is, it's out there someplace. It's miles away. But I call artillery, I walk it right up the mountain and I get it as close to us as possible. In the off chance that we're overrun, okay? My grid coordinates are plotted on this map, and they have my coordinates. So I walk the artillery right up to our front door. If we get overrun, none of us want to be taken prisoner. We don't want to hand over our weapons or our radios. So what do? We have to call artillery in on ourselves. Everybody is aware of that. It's a last resort. It's when you're just completely overrun, but it's just something that you always have in the back of your mind. I had the 45 and the 45. If we were overrun, I'm to put a couple of rounds into the radio to make sure it doesn't work, and just use my best judgment with the rest of the rounds that I have. All right, so again, we're patrolling this river. It's really washed out here. Unfortunately, on a computer screen, it's a little better. So again, we're watching for bad guys in this whole area here, and sampans going up and down the river. One thing that always that I noticed right away, we were up higher than the clouds. Now there is a second layer of cloud. There's two layers. The lower layer that you see there is formed by the river. That's the evaporation directly off the river, and that cloud just makes it follows. Oops, I'm sorry. It follows the river. There's a second overcast as well. Now I was the FO team, so I'm independent. Those guys were grunts, and they're there to shoot. I'm an artillery guy. I'm there to call an artillery, and that's what I do. That's what I do best. That's what I'm good at. So, but this is another team. This is a special team. Obviously, it's the canine team. That's the team. So there was two in the FO team, and two in the dog and the dog handler. First instinct is to go, you want to pet the dog. Oh, look how cute he is. I haven't seen a dog in, I don't know, 6-8 months. And the dog handler goes, as I put my hand out, he says, only if you want to lose it. And as soon as I came within a certain distance of that dog, the dog would have literally taken my hand off. He'll kill. He'll do anything to save the dog handler. This dog should have been retired. This is a little side note. This dog tripped a mine. He had no tail. And because he sniffs out booby traps, that's his job. I showed us up on top of the mountain, and I showed, I don't know if you could see, there was a trail where I said I was walking in artillery up the mountain. That trail also led to a stream, but we were out of water before the helicopter came. So we had to walk down with water cans and fill, some water was trickling out of the side of the mountain. So we were filling water cans, and the dog walked the trail first because he's going to sniff out the booby traps. Well, he didn't have a tail because he missed one. Not with us. This was prior to him coming here. But apparently they're supposed to kill the dog because he goofed. He goofed. He missed a booby trap, blew it up, and lost his tail. So he's supposed to be killed after that, put away. Probably due to a shortage of canines, they didn't kill the dog. So, but when the dog handler left back then, the dog handler goes home, the dog gets killed. You can't give him to another dog handler. He only is with that dog handler. Today you can bring the dog home with a little housebreaking. So that's this is the trail that we would have taken down. Somewhere's in here, and there was water, a stream trickling out of the side of the mountain. That's where we got our water. Also, one thing I meant to mention at the beginning. When I got, it's 50 years ago, so 1968. This is happening in 1968. So it's 2018. It's 50 years ago since these photos were taken, and their age is starting to show. All the black stuff you see on there, that was a dirty lens. That's all that was. But there is some discoloration that's starting to take place here. It's starting to fade out a little bit. I'm going to have to get these preserved a little bit better. And also, when I was introduced, Penny said, when I had a camera, the cameras and watches you got in card games. That's, we didn't have much money. So what we would do is cigarette lighters, cigarettes, cameras, watches, that sort of thing. So I was using a Minolta at the time. And it was, I won that in a card game, not here, but back in the rear area. We'll see more of the rear area in a little bit. That's, those are my, this is the top of the mountain. And that's the top of the tall mountain. So that's my, those are the glasses that I use to sight in if something's a couple of miles away from me. It's just field glasses, and I can correct artillery. Generally, you never get artillery wide do, but other guys don't get your artillery correct on the first shot, so they have to walk it in, as it's called. I'm only kidding. I didn't get it correct on the first shot. That's me at about 145 pounds. I joined the Marine Corps at 145. I got out of boot camp at 175, doing about, 60, 70 push-ups, all Marine. Got over there and went back down to 145 again. So I'm guessing I'm about 145. So this is, that's a spotoscope, another type of spotoscope. This is my life's possessions right here. Boots are off because they probably got wet in the rain the night before, and they're off to the side drying with my socks. Clean socks was tough to come by. That's my M16, but I didn't really use it. My 45 is not here. That's an M79, a very versatile weapon. It shoots illumination. Now they have over and under, like it's I don't know the latest nomenclature, but on I forget what they are, M3s or something. But on the top, it's an M16, what I would call an M16. On the bottom, it's an M79 grenade gun. It's a combination. They have it all in one weapon. But at this time, it was a separate weapon. It shot illumination. Now, at night, we don't just put out the lights and go to sleep. We're firing illumination, and that just fires a little illumination. Illumination, I mean something that I pop into the sky, like fireworks on the 4th of July, only they don't explode. They light up and they come down on a parachute very slowly. Also, I call in the 105 howitzers, which are miles away. I ask them for illumination. I have to light up the mountain at night. I have to keep it lit. It's just, you don't want it to go dark. We have we have claymore mines that are put outside outside that barbed wire. What happens though, if the enemy, being as sneaky as they are, they'll take the claymore mines, which will blow a hole in a tank. No, not really, but a hole in it. They'll do a good job on the truck. It's like a big shotgun blast. So what they do is the bad guys take the claymores and they turn them around and they face them towards us when we're not looking. So what happens is we have the remote controls for the claymores, and we say, hey, this, certain expletives I can't use. So there's somebody in the wire, so then you're going to hit your claymore, and what are you doing? You're firing the claymore at yourself. So it's just something to be aware of, especially aware of. There's some fire missions. Now, we see bad guys, I call them bad guys because they wanted to kill us. So, there's bad guys out there. I'm firing. The white round is called white phosphorus. It's a marking round. The darker one is the second round that came in on top of that. Apparently it was good, so I said that's the target, and I call in a battery of HE, high explosive rounds on the target. Whatever it was, whoever it was, just disappears along with the smoke. They're no longer a threat. It was constant. There was always something going. There's not battalions. There's not marching armies coming at us. There's no tanks, no helicopters. It's just small groups, small Viet Cong groups that want to get on that mountain alongside us. So we keep it's a constant barrage. So now we're back in the rear. We're off that mountain, whatever that mountain was, whatever the number was, I don't remember. But we're back in the rear. This is probably, well, not the rear, but which would be the name. But this is, I'm guessing it's Fubai. That's an 8-inch self-propelled gun. It's not a howitzer, it's a gun. It's half the size of that same size gun is on naval ships, battleships. Because the bigger battleships have the 16-inch guns, like the New Jersey. I had the what do you call it? The frequency. I had the frequency for the New Jersey, and they said, things really get tough, and you really need some firepower, you can get the New Jersey. And I'm figuring, these guys are bad enough firing artillery. It's not always what you might call precision. So I'm thinking that there's this not little, but there's this boat floating around in the Gulf of Tonkin, or the Chinese, the Sea of China. And I'm not going to trust a boat that's bobbing around. I didn't know about computers, that even though the boat's going this way and that way, the guns are constantly trained in the exact position it's supposed to be in. So I never called in the New Jersey. So, and thank God I probably really didn't have to. But these are 8-inch, they go quite a ways, and they do a lot of damage. They do as much, it's almost the same as calling in naval firepower. As you can observe also, sandbags. Although this is mostly red clay, not sand, but you fill your sandbags with red clay. That's what kept, for the most part, that's what kept you alive. Common sense and sandbags. That's a 175 millimeter howitzer. That could shoot about 20 miles. It's like taking a Volkswagen and throwing it about 20 miles and landing it on target. When I said I saw a couple of Army guys, here's a crew of 4, U.S. Army. The Marine Corps at that time didn't have any 175 artillery, so we borrowed these guys to reach what we couldn't reach. And there was originally 2. There was 2 of them side by side. I guess after a while I had to give one of them up. But somebody walked during a fire mission. The lanyards are pulled on there, just like any other artillery piece. And the powder bags are as big as I am, the gunpowder that blows the charge. Somebody walked between the 2 when there was a pair of them there, walked between the 2 when the lanyard was pulled. And it just disintegrated that person. The concussion just, it was like they were turned into a puddle. That's the 175 again. And I said sandbags is a survival kit. It's also, these are ammo boxes. Any of the wooden boxes you see are ammo boxes. That's what these rounds of ammunition, these artillery rounds, are all transported in wooden boxes, usually 2 to a box. We also fill those boxes up with clay as protected. Inside that bunker, it's probably fire direction control. These guns, takes a lot to get this guy to fire 20 miles and hit his target. So there's a lot of, today it's all artillery. Today it's all computerized. They just punch a bunch of buttons. Does the azimuth, deflection, range, and so on. But back in the day, you had to plot everything on a map. Maps similar to this, only they were as big as a giant work table. It was all hand plotted and very accurate. However, it was slow. So, the helicopter flying around up there. This is a spotting tower. So back in the rear, this base gets hit on a regular basis, like every night. You have to have somebody up in the tower. The tower sees the direction, the muzzle flash. Now we can take at least one of those batteries that are on this base, swing it around to where we're getting hit by rockets or mortars, and take care of that business real quickly. The problem is, later on, they covered it. I don't see the steps here, but I guess the steps are hidden here someplace. But as you're walking up the steps, you were target. So people were getting picked off as they were getting up here to be the spotters. So they eventually wrapped it in corrugated pipes, so you go up hidden. Of course, there's also antennas up there. Every place you go, there's antennas all over the place. Constant communication. There's more helicopters. There's a tower. Another tower. C-130. I believe that one was disabled. Got hit on the runway, and I think when I was leaving country a year later, it was still there. And that's a Huey helicopter. These are Chinooks. That's the type that resupplied us on that mountain. A ravine, we kept POWs in here. It's actually, the ravine is kind of nasty. These are, there's an outhouse. I think that's an outhouse, and that's an outhouse, and that's where the outhouses went, drained in here. But we had no other place to keep prisoners, and we wound up keeping them down in here, just for night. There's some tanks, a couple of tanks. Helicopter coming up right behind the head. The C-130, that was disabled. I don't know what was wrong with it, but it just never moved. It just sat there forever. That's it again. And you can see the mountains. The base would get hit from up on top. Rockets would come raining in. Rockets during the day and mortars during the night. It's kind of built up here. It's a very built up area. Again, this was the rear area. That's an OV-10 Bronco. It's an observation plane. I only saw it used by the Marine Corps. These are some slides I just found mixed up with some other slides I had when I worked for the FAA. I used to give presentations in aviation, and I would use this slide. I found my OV-10 Bronco was the nickname that was made by Rockwell. And a very versatile aircraft. Now, there's a lot of jets. You don't see jets here because artillery and jets don't mix. When an artillery round is up in the air, the aircraft doesn't want to share any airspace with that artillery round. So when we're pouring in artillery, you clear all the aircraft between the artillery base, the battery, usually 5 or 6 gun battery, and the target. So when it's hitting the fan in a certain area, somebody's calling in, a fire mission, blah, 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 they give them the coordinates. I get all that information, I'm getting ready to send them the artillery, and I gotta wait. Why am I waiting? I'm getting shot at. I don't want to wait. I need some backup here. I'm waiting because they're clearing aircraft. I mean, what good is it going to do to get me artillery if you're going to take 2 helicopters full of troops out of the sky while you're doing it? Just doesn't pay. But of course, when you're getting shot at, that's you only think about yourself. That's the OV-10. And again, with jets, not only did they not fly near artillery, I couldn't even talk to them. We're AM, and they're, I'm sorry, we're VHF, and they're UHF. So we're on 2 different frequencies. This aircraft carried VHF and UHF. I could use him to help me. If I can't see where rounds are supposed to go on, he can help me out, because he's got both radios in there. It's also the same as an air traffic controller. I have a military jet flying in the same airspace, not the same altitude, but I have a military aircraft who's talking to me at New York Center where I worked at Iceland, and then I have a commercial aircraft, Delta, whatever, also on my frequency. I'm talking to the Delta, I'm talking to the military guy. They can't hear each other. Delta's on VHF and the military is on UHF. It's still to this day. And they don't have to hear each other. It's not that important. One thing you want to be careful of I didn't know it at the time, when you're refueling an aircraft, you have to be grounded. One spark, it's your history. I keep looking for a ground wire here in all these slides, subsequently, not at the time, and I don't see a ground wire. So there's one possible ground wire, but I'm not seeing it. And we'll see in case this thing, in case this did go up in a ball of flames, we'll see I'm just not seeing the ground. Well, it could be there, but I just don't see it. In case you do go up in a ball of smoke, there's your fire extinguisher. So that's it. That's all you got. I mean, there's crash, fire, and rescue someplace, but it's going to be too late. This may have been some kind of affair that popped out of the runway that was aground. These are metal slats, by the way. These are kind of like portable runways. They piece together like Legos. The runway mats. And we used to use them also for the top of our bunkers. So all those sandbags that you saw laying on top of a bunker, this is what they would typically be sitting on. Of course, you gotta steal it. They don't give you the stuff. You gotta go up to the runway and steal it. Chinook helicopter. This is a village called Anwa. There's a spotting tower, by the way, in the back. That's where that base was that we just came from. This is Anwa. This is a medical center. This was run by it's run by the West Germans. They would treat Americans. I went in there for dental. I had to have a tooth pulled or something. I think some kind of dental work. So anyway, I went in there and saw a West German doctor who was treating Americans during the day, and I'm sure we weren't allowed over there at night, but I'm sure he was treating the NVA and the Viet Cong at night. They were all volunteer West German doctors and nurses who, for the most part, spoke English. I don't know how the Vietnamese was. But this is a tank that's getting ready to bring in a caravan. There's a caravan here that, for this village, they're going to need water, food, supplies, seed, tools, gas, whatever it is. They're probably going to Da Nang. They're not going to go on their own. So they have an American tank escort that takes the Vietnamese civilians into Da Nang to get whatever it is they need resupplied and then back again. And here's the driver right there. I drove on the side of a tank one time. I'll never do it again. You want a bumpy ride. I was on the outside. I needed a hitch. Get on! And that's not over there. So they're getting ready. The caravan has probably got probably a 20-mile trip. Here's we sent for this. This is me, Garcia, and Flaherty. And we sent for this. It was in the back of. We needed a little levity. You got to send something home to Grandma to tell her you're having a good time. Wish you were here. So this was it. It was a magazine here in the back of a comic book, like a Superman comic book. Get this tank. It was probably $4.99. So we went and we ordered the tank. And what I don't have, I have the tank I just showed you before. I had a slide of us right here in our tank, and I can't find that slide. So it was a nice juxtaposition. But this was our living quarters when we weren't out doing. We're all operators, forward observers, and strictly for artillery. That's Flaherty. Flaherty is about this high. So generally, the guys this high, they make them tunnel rats because they're the same size as a Vietnamese soldier. And the Vietnamese made tunnels that pretty much they could only fit through. So a guy his height and size, physical stature, would typically be made a tunnel rat because of his size. He didn't get that MOS is what it was called, Military Occupation Specialty. All right, I obliterated the expletive. And here, when I first got there, we were wearing green, khaki green. By the time I left, they were starting to go to camouflage, so I'm 50-50 here. The boots, I don't know if those are the same boots I have over here, but this might have been my second pair of boots. The biggest mistake I made with those was polishing them, because I was in a parade in Washington, D.C., and I said, well, Marine, you gotta be spit shine. I spit shine those boots, and mad as hell that I ever did it. They used to be full of nice red clay. The mat was full of red clay, and I washed all that good stuff off. A friend of mine, he's an artillery guy. Goff, he's a school teacher. That's the tower. I'm not seeing any towers yet, the spotting towers with the corrugated steel to hide you as you go up. Yeah, this place isn't big enough for both of us. One of us gotta go home. Now we're in a Vietnamese village, not near a base. Apparently we had a round or two fall short. And it did some damage, didn't kill anybody, but it did some damage to the homes. Now this is a probably middle upper class village. And got the Pabst Blue Ribbon going here. This guy, by the way, was sitting in it was an 8-inch gun I showed earlier. That guy was sitting in a gun like this. That was him. He's also a translator. He speaks Vietnamese. Enjoy the Pabst. So the deal is, we did some physical damage to their houses, their hooches. What we do in reparation, I don't know if any money changed hands, that's not above my grade level, but what I can do is give them some empty ammo boxes. That's why we're here, right here. Ammo boxes. And as you notice, everybody wears black pajamas. Can't tell the good guys from the bad guys. Everybody's wearing black. Why they wear black in the hot sun, I'll never know, but that's what they do. So anyway, he's our ARVN, Army of Vietnam. He's an interpreter, but as I said, he's an interpreter because we don't trust our interpreter. So he's listening to everything that this fellow's saying. So here's the interpreter again, the Vietnamese interpreter, ARVN. They're making a deal, whose house got the worst damage. I didn't get a picture of the house, I don't know what the damage was, but here's all ammo boxes, the boxes that were shipped, that the rounds of ammunition get shipped in. Now they have no way of getting wood. There's just no hardware store around. So right now it's who's going to get the ammo boxes. That's the whole deal here. Okay, everybody's happy. She's got her ammo boxes. He's got some. I'm sure there's more in here. He's got one over his arm. She's got a couple that she's picking up. So whatever damage we cause, I guess everything's okay now. We got some lumber to make those repairs. I'm sorry for the quality, but somebody from Florida, a friend of mine, I put on Facebook that I was giving this talk. He says, oh, there's a slide, I don't know if you remember sending it to me. And he sent me the slide. Well, actually it was a she. She sent me the slide. And it was, actually it's a copy of a photograph. The others are all slides, taken with 35 millimeter slides. This was a photograph that was scanned. And the children. That's our hooches, that's what they look like inside, the little parachutes for the illumination. That's what these parachutes are, just decorative ambiance. We too use ammo boxes to build our finest furniture. It's an underground bunker. I took 3 shots in the bunker and they all came out like this. So I'm going to go with this bunker is haunted. We're underground. That's a New York State flag. That's a radio operator on the artillery end instead of on the front end. That's a plotting board. And again, I think this place is haunted because all 3 slides I took in there are This is Huey helicopter. We're going out on another mission. Something was called in. We're going to go and check it out. Once I get there, I'll call in artillery and take care of business. This is where we're going. Got to look for a good place to land. Actually, they don't land. We kind of jump out. There we are. Right here. That's an antenna to a radio. 3 helicopters. Now we're getting out. And it's swampy. It's wet. It's wet. I don't want to be there, and I'm getting shot at right now. This is a Buddhist temple. It was blown up. That's the rubble. There's bricks here, and there's some more bricks off to the side. The Buddhist temple was booby trapped, so anybody who would come here to pray, and they are here praying. There's people there, and there's more people over here. This was a repair ramp. That's a wheelbarrow and a repair ramp to run cement up and down to fix it up. But they're praying outside. I have no idea what this thing is here. I have no idea. It's like stainless steel. Anyway, the Buddhist temple was blown up. People went in there to pray, and they all didn't make it out. They went in, didn't come out. So that was a while back. It's being reconstructed. When I had these slides, developed, I had them for a couple of years. I didn't run right to the drugstore. But when I did, about 5 years later, I had them developed, and I gave them to a Korean lady behind the counter, and she developed them, and she had looked at them, and she remarked about this slide. She said, this is the same sect, I don't know what sect it is, but this is the same sect of Buddhism in Korea that she worships. And then she went on to tell me her father was in Korea. We had Korean Marines there. They were called ROKs. It was just a coincidence. B-52 strike. Right here, we're getting rockets. You don't see anybody here because we're all inside. We're in a bunker. We're all hiding out. There's rockets, 122 millimeter rockets today, they call them. Over in Israel, they're Katyusha rockets. Same rocket, they come flying in. They're not, a rocket is just, has no guidance. But the base is so big, the rocket is definitely going to hit something. So they don't have to be too accurate. As we're getting rocketed, a B-52 miraculously shows up. Of course, he knew they were there before we did. He's up there somewhere so high you can't even see him, dropping 2,000-pound bombs. The ground was quaking. It was actually shaking, felt like earth tremors. This is maybe 100, 2,000-pound bombs. He's taken out all of those rockets for us. Thank you very much. That's the smoke just drifting over towards us. They're starting to come out of hooches. I captured 51 millimeter. American Armed Forces use 50 caliber machine guns. The Chinese and the Vietnamese and the Russians use 51 millimeter machine guns. And therefore, if they capture our 50 millimeter shells for our machine guns, the shells for our machine gun, they can use them in a 51 millimeter. So this is a captured piece of equipment. We're just about at the end. He's trying to say goodbye. If there was sound, there would be a big drum roll here, or clapping sound. There was sound for some of these, but it's not coming across. And that's the end of the slideshow. So, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions.
Did you ever work with the Air Force in your, where you were?
No,
Never worked with the Air Force?
not at all. Not at all. I'm lucky I saw these guys from the Army. Yeah.
What guns were you F-bombing for?
I was primarily 105s.
105 or 102?
105. 102 is a it's a recordless.
The one that you have, that you, with the roller in the back.
Is a 106 recordless rifle?
No.
Well, 102 I'm not familiar with. We had 105s, howitzers,
Yeah.
but then 106 was a recoilless. It usually mounted that on the back of the Jeep. Any other questions?